Hello there, my name is Maddie of The Girly Geek and welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm doing a little plan with me for a spread in my classic vertical happy planner, which is my catch-all planner. We've just finished another busy week and there's another one ahead, so I want to get all nice and organized for that. I've got my iced coffee and I'm getting started by pulling out the pages from my planner, popping them into a clear plastic sleeve, and then I'm going to pull all the stickers that I want to use this week onto some wax paper. When I sat down to film this video, I didn't quite have a clear vision of what I wanted this spread to be. I usually try and have a theme idea ahead of time, but this week I kind of just went with a color that I've been really feeling lately, which is the color of my nails, Go Ginza by Essie. So to achieve that, I went with Here to Shine and the Pressed Florals sticker books by the Happy Planner. Starting out, I'm just going ahead and selecting some stickers from this accessory pack, mainly leaning towards the purplish pink that this pack has. There's a more peachy pink and then there's a more purplish pink, and that's the one I went with for this spread. I just thought it looked very cute and matched my nails, and that's the color I'm really feeling this week. I don't know why, I just have a bit of a soft spot for it at the moment. I typically lean towards a more peach presenting pink, but you know, we go through moods and this is what I'm in the mood for lately. Along with those, I'm trying to find some florals that are in a similar color, and I had a look at purples for a second, but that wasn't really the vibe I wanted, and I ended up settling on these florals. These ones that look a little bit white, a little bit pinkish purplish, but not too blue heavy. So I'm definitely leaning towards florals this week that have, you know, the purple vibe, but only a little bit of the blue in them. So they're still kind of leaning towards pink. When I was trying to figure out what to call this color, I was doing some Googling, as one does, and I Googled lilac, and it's pretty close to what you would get for a pink lilac. So I guess that's what I'm going to be calling it. I feel like it's a bit of a mouthful, but I think it gets the message across. Now I'm looking for some typographic elements, so I selected this quote with a watercolor swatch behind it, and then I went ahead and kind of looked at grabbing a couple more watercolor swatches just to kind of layer behind some of the boxes. I thought it would give a really interesting look to the spread as well. I didn't want things to look super boxy and straight, so watercolor splotches or any irregular shape are really nice at adding some balance to spreads that feel really rigid. So adding some shape and some fluidity where there's a lot of straight lines. Continuing on with finding some stickers that would add a variety of shapes, I went with these kind of arched boxes. I like to call them arch windows, I don't know why, but yeah, I thought those would be really nice to add some roundness and balance out the spread as well. Lastly, I was feeling like I needed a little bit of text to add a bit of layering on top instead of behind, so I thought this little calligraphied "Today" would be a really nice addition. When I'm doing my spreads, I really like to focus on making sure there's a background, middle ground, and foreground, just to create a lot of interest and keep things spicy, you know. But yeah, I thought that would really round out the spread for this week as well. Now I'm just finishing up my sticker selection by adding a few smaller boxes and some more florals to spread out across the 2 pages. I really tried to add a variety of sizes to keep things interesting and make sure the two sides don't look too similar, because that tends to annoy me. But I have a pretty good selection, and I think I'm going to start playing around with the layout. So here's what I've got, and here is my spread, and I'm going to start fiddling around with how I think I want things to look. The place I usually start is by starting with the largest pieces, usually the boxes that I'm going to put on the page, and trying to make a cute little cluster out of them. From there, I play around with some of the other stickers and try and figure out what I think will look best in the background and in the foreground to create an interesting kind of shape or layered effect. For this, I thought I would go with florals on the front, which I usually tend to do, and then I thought it would look cool if we had one of these watercolor swatches kind of layered behind to look a little bit more artsy and, I don't know, sophisticated perhaps. Who knows? I just thought it would look cute. And I don't think I was wrong about it. When it comes to spreads though, it's all really just trial and error. So I just put something where I think it might look cute, and if it does, all well and good, and if it doesn't, I try and unstick it as best as I can and figure out the best place for it. Now that I've added that little flower, I think I've got a pretty good little cluster for this page. I like that it's taking up quite a bit of space, but there's also some white space there as well, and it's not too boxy, and it's a bit irregular, which is what you want. These pressed floral stickers are some of my absolute favorites. I think probably my favorite release of this year. I've been using them a whole lot in my reading journal as well. If you haven't seen that, I have a new video where I set up my reading journal for this year, and pressed florals is quite a large contribution to it. I just found that it's obviously, number one, so beautiful, that's a given. Number two, I just think it's very versatile in the different types of stickers you have, and the effect of literally pressed florals is very adaptable to many styles. When paired with stickers like the ones I've chosen today, it obviously presents them in a very polished and, you know, refined, beautiful way. But when you pair it with other materials like craft paper and washi tape, it can look a lot more rustic and dressed down, but still really beautiful, and I really love that. Here I'm kind of getting it started on trying to balance out the second page. I often find it a little bit tricky to do the second half because you have a different surface area with an extra day of the week. So instead of 3, there's 4, and it can make it a little bit tricky for balancing the two pages and making them look even. But, you know, again, trial and error. I mess around with different little clusters. I usually try and have 2 clusters, an upper one and a lower one, whichever side they may be on, and sometimes I end up switching them around just because they balance better, but it's all about giving it a shot. Here I am trying to play around with the layering and seeing if that would suit the little cluster that I'm trying to start. I had this big floral and I thought it would look really good in the background, especially since I didn't have a floral on the other page kind of at that level. I thought it balanced really nicely, and I thought this text looked really cool above this arch box as well. Now I'm just trying to finalize these little clusters with the last few florals and make sure everything looks pretty evenly spaced out and, I don't know, balanced. How many times have I said balanced? A bit too many if you ask me. I'm gonna try and stop that. I mean, I do get questions often about how I make my spreads look like this, and honestly, that's the answer. I just think about balance. Now that I've figured out these clusters, I put them straight onto the planner paper to do the finishing touches. So I'm just going to go ahead and have a look and see if there are any more florals that I want to incorporate, just to round things out and fill up any spaces that are looking a little bit sparse. While I'm planning, sometimes I'm listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video or watching something on Netflix. So there's sometimes some little gaps of time where you see me just pause for a second because I'm concentrating on something else. But towards the end of the spread is when I tend to get really focused. I'm like, okay, how can I make this exactly what I wanted it to be? Like, I'm so close. How can I finish and achieve that vision? This time around, I just added a couple more florals, some soft little petals, and then I realized that it would really help the balance of the spread if I had another list on the second page, since I have one on the first page. So I went in search of that in the Year to Shine sticker book and eventually found one that I thought would suit quite well. Looking at the page, you would think it would fit really well in the 20th, but I already had a to-do box for that day, so I ended up putting it in the 21st, which annoyed me slightly. Let's just say it was a bit too close to that big cluster on the side, but it wouldn't make sense to have two large to-do lists on the Thursday when realistically I probably didn't have that much to write. So Friday it was. And that was pretty much it. This is the finished spread for this week in my classic catch-all vertical happy planner. So I put it back into my planner to give you guys a little close-up at how it looks. But that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this little lilac pink moment come together. I had a blast. It was actually one of the quickest spreads of my to-do, but I'm really thrilled with the results and I kind of got what I wanted. It matches my nails, so I am one happy gal. Let me know in the comments down below if you liked this spread and what spread you have for yourself this week. I'd love to know. Be sure to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more from me in the future. You can also find me on Instagram at @thegirlygeek or on my Etsy store. But I will see you guys very soon. Bye! When I first met you, then thought you were nothing. You were just